I opened my eyes to find myself in a strange place. But because of the surroundings and equipment attached to me, I could tell that I was in a hospital. However, I had no idea how I got there, no matter how hard I tried to remember. And the most strange thing was that I couldn't move at all because of the things attached to me and because every part of my body hurt. She wakes up finally. Welcome back, a man in blue scrubs said as he saw me awake and asked the nurse nearby to take my vitals. He had a name tag with Ravi Patel MD written on it, so I thought he was the doctor. Do you know how you got here? The doctor started asking me questions. Not really, I said in a small, raspy voice. What's the last thing you remember doing? He asked again. But before we move on, like this video, hit that subscribe button, and activate the notification bell, and your parents will invite your lover over for dinner. Trust me, it works. I went to bed on Christmas Eve and woke up here, I replied, as that was exactly what I remembered. So the doctor took some notes and called in for my parents. They came in both with tears in their eyes and kissed my forehead. Then the doctor told them about how I remember going to bed on Christmas Eve and a few more things. But we only got to celebrate Christmas last year, my mom said to the doctor. After that, the doctor asked to see some scans of my head injury, examined it, and came to me and said, Flora, you were in a coma for 2 months because of a car accident. It seems you have retrograde amnesia because of that, since you have forgotten events of a whole year. After hearing what the doctor just said, my parents started acting strangely and asked to talk to the doctor somewhere else, and we went outside. Meanwhile, the nurse injected me with something, so I instantly fell asleep. Although I had gotten up from 2 months in a coma, the doctor said that I hadn't fully recovered, so I had to stay 5 more months in the hospital. During that time, none of my friends came to visit me, not even my best friend Sarah. We had been friends since elementary school, and she didn't even bother to at least call me at such a time of my life. That made me feel so bad, but I was grateful that my parents were there all the time, taking care of me, which made it easier. They made sure I had everything I needed. After 5 months, the doctor declared me fit to go home, and thus I was discharged. I couldn't remember a year of my life, and I had a lot of scars from the accident, but I was happy that I could finally go home as I was getting somewhat sick of the hospital. When I went home, too, my friends showed no effort to come and see me, or call or text. Even when I was the one calling or texting, they didn't return it. So a few days later, I decided that I would pay Sarah and a few of my other friends a visit. But I soon realized what a terrible idea it was. Some of my friends didn't even open the door for me, and some just asked me to leave as soon as they saw me. Finally, I went to Sarah's house and saw that she was sitting out on her porch going through her phone. But when she saw me coming, she instantly stood up to get inside. Hey, Sarah, wait up, I said, increasing my pace of the walk. She did stop and turned around, but what she said next completely broke my heart. Why are you here? I don't want to see your face. Just go away. She screamed in a way that the whole neighborhood could hear. I couldn't believe she could say that and be so rude to me. It hurt me so much that I turned around and ran off to my house crying. There were a lot of things going on in my mind. Did I do anything wrong to my friends in the year that I forgot about? I thought and tried to remember, but I couldn't. And the hurt just didn't end there. My parents showed me a letter that they received in the mail from my old workplace. It said that I had been laid off from the job and that I shouldn't expect a job there anytime in the future. I felt so low at that point, but then again, my parents were right there by my side trying to fix my mood and cheer me up. My dad was a business advisor who would often travel places to see for big companies, and that explained the money we had. And my mom had an antique shop right down the block from our house. So my mom brought up an idea that sounded pretty good to me. Why don't you come and work with me at my antique shop? She asked. And I immediately agreed as I wanted to keep busy to forget the rude treatment of my friends and not get hurt. But as days passed by, I started noticing my parents were acting strange, especially my mother. She was so overprotective of me and wanted every detail of my whereabouts. And if I am even 1 minute late for my job, she would lose her mind, although it was only the shop and the house I went to. However, since I had been in an accident and a coma recently, and being their only child, the concern seemed reasonable. But then she would act even more strangely during the doctor's appointment. She would always pull the doctor aside and talk to him secretly. Once I even suspected if they were having an affair, but I knew it was all in my head, so I stopped thinking about anything in a negative sense. Like that, I stayed with my parents and worked at the antiques for 2.5 years. My parents were very happy, but I was getting more and more bored every day without any friends and nowhere else to go except for the house and the shop. So I decided that I would move to another city. But my only problem was convincing mom and dad. For that, one day at dinner, I brought up the topic about moving out. Mom, Dad, I want to discuss something with you, I said. They immediately left the food they were eating and gave all their attention to me. I want to move to another city and get a job I like and make some new friends, I said. And just as I had expected, they rejected. Absolutely not. You are going to stay here safe at home, my dad said, and my mom agreed with him. Please, stop treating me like I'm some porcelain doll. I want to live for a change and not just exist, I replied in a slightly louder tone. And as I was insistent and stubborn about it, my parents couldn't say or do anything that made me stay. Finally, I moved to another city and my parents helped me with the move, and I started living alone. But something changed after some days from the move. I started getting nightmares almost every night. In the nightmare, I would be in a car that would crash at the end of it. But the strange thing was, I wasn't alone in the car and the dream was blurry, so I couldn't figure out who it was. It bothered me a lot. Was there anyone with me during my crash? I thought, but then if there was, my parents would have told me. Still, I wanted to ask my parents about it, but I knew that if I let them know that I was having nightmares, they would leave everything they were doing and show up at my door in an instant, so I refrained from that. However, I was having a pretty good time with my new life in the new city. I loved my job and my workplace, and I had even made friends from there. We used to hang out twice every week, plus additional parties and brunches. There was a cute guy at work whom I had a huge crush on, and according to my friends at the office, he had a crush on me too. But I could never bring myself to talk to him no matter how much my friends forced me to. I was not the one to make the first move. And he didn't try either, and later I heard he got together with his girlfriend from high school. After that, I didn't really get interested in anyone, so I stayed away from the dating life and stuck to my good life with friends and work. And just like that, with nightmares and my mom visiting me occasionally for the doctor's appointment, 2 years passed. One day I was returning to my apartment from work when suddenly I felt like someone was calling my name from behind. Flora? Flora! A guy came running towards me calling out my name as I was about to take the final turn. But I didn't know who he was, so I just ran towards my apartment. When I recall that event, I don't exactly know why I did that, but that was my instant reflex. After he saw that I was running, he stopped running behind me and walked the other way, and I also reached my apartment and locked the doors behind me. I was so relieved to get that stranger off my back, and was a little tired too, so I went straight to bed. That night too, I was expecting the nightmare, but something different happened. I used to get the dream in all blur, but not that night. That night, I could clearly see the person that was with me in the car. It was the same guy who was running behind me during the day, only that he looked a little different. What is going on? I thought as I woke up from the nightmare. After so many years, my life was finally coming together, but a mystery knocked at my door all of a sudden. How was that guy in a car with me? However, I was not going to skip over it. I was determined to solve it and figure out what was going on. So for that, the next day, I didn't go to work. I went to the same turn where I had seen the guy the day before, as I didn't want to miss him even by seconds. I waited for hours and hours, but he didn't show up and I had to return to my apartment too, as it was getting dark. I felt a little bad, but I was determined. So the day after that too, I went to the same turn and waited for him. That day too, I waited and waited. I was almost sure that he wouldn't come, but right then I saw him coming from the opposite direction, and he saw me. He rolled his eyes and came walking towards me and said, "Aren't you going to run today as if I'm about to mug you?" "I'm sorry, I didn't know you. And I don't know you, actually. Maybe you were there in the year I can't remember?" I said, "Yeah, Sarah told me about your condition." "I'm Evan, but why are you here now?" he asked. I was mad at the fact that Sarah would talk to some Evan guy about me, but ignore me completely. But I was not to get distracted, so I answered him with the details about my nightmare about the crash and how I saw him the night before in the dream. "Look, Flora, your parents threatened me to get out of town, whatever their reason was, so I think it is better that you ask them," he said. And if you want to see me after you know everything, here's my number, he added, and gave me his number and left. What on earth? I was losing my mind over the things I didn't know, and the year I couldn't remember, and the fact that my parents kept it hidden from me for so long. I had had enough hide and seek with my own past, and I just couldn't do it anymore. So I went straight to the bus station from there and took a night bus to my hometown. It was very late when I reached home, so my parents were concerned about why I was there all of a sudden at such an hour. Mom, without hiding anything, please tell me everything about what happened before the car crash. It has been haunting me since the day I woke up from the coma. Please, Mom, I said and started crying as I couldn't hold back my emotions. My mother's face went pale and she sighed. I should have had taken that as a signal to brace myself, because what she told me next tore me to pieces. I'm sorry we kept it a secret from you, but you were in love with an irresponsible brat, Evan. You had met him during the New Year's Eve that year, and the night of the car crash, you guys were running away, as we disapproved of your relationship. In the crash, you got so hurt, which sent you to a coma while he got off with just a couple of bruises, she said. She told me that she and my dad both didn't like him, so to get him out of their life, they threatened him to go away, and even paid off my friends to not talk to me, so that I wouldn't have any source for details. What? A boy is not an excuse to pay off my friends to not talk to me, Mom. And a crash doesn't mean you go and threaten someone. I screamed, as I was so mad at them. But that was just part of the disappointment. She told me that while my boyfriend and I were running away, I was pregnant, and that I lost the baby in the accident. The news came to me like someone broke a flower pot on my head. How could you keep that a secret from me for 5 years? I had the right to know I was pregnant, I said, and I started crying again as I was so hurt and disappointed. I said, and I started crying again as I was so hurt and disappointed. We were just trying to protect you from hurt, sweetheart, and do what was right for you. My mom replied, trying to sound innocent, and I knew her concerns were genuine, but I could never forgive them for hiding something like that from me. I was so heartbroken. But I tried to understand, thinking that was actually what they were trying to protect me from. But still, it wasn't fair to me, and I was not going to forgive them for that. I know you have taken care of me, and I am very grateful. But you need to learn that you cannot protect me from everything, I said. I also told them that I didn't remember anything, but I wanted to make new memories with Evan and make them last this time. After that, I went to my room and texted the number Evan had given me, telling him I wanted to see him. Thanks for watching. What would you do if you forgot one whole year of your life? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe and check out other videos on